So we are going to look at the setting of the Good Samaritan in a more modern sense. As you know, I like reading theology books, and one chap called John Goldingay is a fairly famous theologian, and he was writing about how parables need to be communicated in a current setting so that they might be understood and what their meaning is and their relevance for today. Now, you have to use a lot of imagination for this, because this was going to be a sketch done by my grandkids. So imagine, please, Harry is 9 and he is a super ninja. If you don't know what a ninja is, he's sort of like a goody superhero, but a very special sort. And he's got his own ninja costume. So you're going to have to imagine. But he is really going to be supposedly a baddie ninja. Okay, so can you keep that view in mind? Harry is the baddie ninja, or so-called baddie ninja. But is he? And then we have a member of my family, who I'm not too sure of yet, who is actually travelling from Milton Keynes to London. And he is going to be attacked by a band of robbers. So today we might say that his car exploded. Something happened and he ends up injured on the road. So I think we'll say that his car exploded. There was something wrong with it, and he was thrown out in one of the country roads between London and Milton Keynes, and he really was not well. And nobody went past him at that time to be able to phone an ambulance. Anyway, that's the first bit of the setting of the story. Now, the first person to walk, drive, ride his bike past happened to be Theodore, my little grandson, who most of I think you know. He was going to be dressed up as, I think he was Spider-Man, the superhero. He was going to walk past on the other side because he was far too busy. He had crimes to solve. He had awful, terrible things to put right, and he just didn't have time. He was far too busy. So he would have walked by. Now, Hannah, my little 2.5-year-old granddaughter, has an even better Superwoman costume. She also would have walked by because she also had a lot of things to do, a lot of things to sort out if the world was going to be put back to rights after all these baddie superheroes had been at it. So she also walked by. So time went by, a little time, and this poor guy was moaning and groaning in the car crash. And by came Harry, the bad, supposedly bad, super ninja. He was in a bit of a rush, but he heard the groanings and he went over to see what was the matter. And he found this guy quite badly injured. And he phoned the ambulance. He said, this poor guy. He phoned the ambulance. He went to hospital in the ambulance with this chap, and he stayed with him until he was sort of okay and on the mend. So, you see, this was the story in today's world of youngsters. And it would probably mean quite a lot because those characters were relevant to them. But it makes a point. The point that Jesus made was, who is our neighbour? When we are too busy to stop for the one, then we are a bit like those superheroes who went off to save the world but couldn't be bothered about this one guy who at that moment in time needed help. And this is where we share God's blessings. We don't have to go out and save the world. We don't have to be big and amazing and fantastic. Actually, I remember once, about I got to church on a Sunday morning and the ladies' toilet was flooded. And I will never forget seeing Tina Gardner, who, for those of you who don't know, was our previous minister's wife. She was down on her knees with some cloths and a bucket, and she was just wiping it up, all the water, so it all dried up. She was a superstar. And that is all God asks of us. He asks us to help in the situations where we are. I know that wasn't people, but nevertheless, it had a lasting impact on me. And it was what Jesus was saying. It's the here and now. It's the who can we help? Because the Samaritans were a hated, despised people. And Jesus is saying we are to help people no matter who we are. And the big divide between, I don't know, in the Christian church, it's quite upsetting, but there are divides. And maybe we wouldn't go and help another denomination, maybe on grounds of race or sexuality or many different things that we don't get on with or we're not supposed to mix with. God's saying no. In the story of the Good Samaritan, we are to love and to help all those in need, no matter who they are, where they are. This is his point. Everyone is our neighbour. In the here and now, stop for the one and bless them as God has blessed us.